Hi guys, it's Ian Girl, and today I'm going to show you how to make a showmanship halter for your Breyer horse. So this video was asked for, so I want to know if I can make it, and yes, that's just one of the things I can make, so today I'm going to show you. So, supplies. You're going to need a few tools, so I have wire cutters, pliers, scissors, an X-Acto knife, and a metal file. So that seems like a lot of tools, but actually a few of them aren't really required. So scissors are an absolute must. You must have scissors. And then the wire cutters are for my buckles, which I'll show you in a minute. Pliers are for the buckles. This is also for the buckles, and this is for cutting, thinning the leather. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my voice. And then materials you need are your leather. So I have 1/8 inch wide black kangaroo lace. It's rather expensive, but I mean, I do a lot of stuff, so I use it. It takes me a while to use it. It generally takes me like 1.5 years or so to use it because I have a couple different colors and sizes, so I don't use all of it. You also need jump rings. You need 6 for this. If you want to do some other stuff with your halter, it's going to vary. You also need buckles. You need at least 2. So the buckles I have here are, they're engraved buckles, so they're very fancy, you know, pretty. They're a little bit more expensive than just regular square buckles, but they look nice, and they add, what you call it, it makes your stuff higher in value. I got these at Rio Rondo. So for when you actually get these buckles, this is a completely finished buckle. So first you're going to cut your buckles out of the sheet because they come in a big sheet all attached together, and you cut them off. And then you want to use the files to file off all the little ends, because this has a bit of a shape to it. Oops, where is it? It has a bit of a shape to it, but you can see it's kind of uneven on this edge here because that's where you have to file it. Mine didn't file all that evenly, but the camera just makes it stand out. When you look at it in person, you can't even tell. And then once you file it down and you got the nice look that you want to take your pliers and very, very gently bend it into a slight U shape. This makes it much easier to use once it's on the halter. You also need glue, and I use Aleene's Turbo Tacky Glue. I have like the advanced glue type thing. It's like the better one, I guess, has the black cap versus the white cap. You don't need it, but I prefer it. I feel like it does actually dry faster, because I know a lot of people like to use super glue on their leather, and I used to do that, but I found that if you use anything lighter, like natural leather, it always ends up soaking through my leather and getting all over the place, and you get like a little blotch on it and you can't get it off, and it's just a pain at times. So I only use that for silver. On this halter, I'm not going to do the silver. I'm just going to leave it plain. I might do it after the video, but I'm not going to do it in the video. I'll tell you how later. But anyway, so let's get started on the halter. So first of all, I took my knife and I thinned out my leather just a little bit. So basically, you're going to do it like this. And let's see if I can do this. So basically, just going to thin your leather by taking your knife, holding it down, and pulling your leather back. That's how I skive my leather. There's a lot of different ways I've seen people do this, but you're basically just taking away from the suede side, because leather has 2 sides. So this is the grain side. This is the nice side that you actually see when you do stuff. It kind of has, see, that's the grain. And then this side is the suede. So if anyone buys suede, that's, oh whoops, I flipped it twice. That is a suede, and it's kind of soft, fuzzy. But you're going to scrape away at that suede side so that it's thinner. And then at the very ends where I plan on gluing, I thin it a lot more so it takes away bulk. and my blade is a little bit dull, so I'm just kind of scraping stuff off. But if you have a really sharp knife, you'll actually get a nice, long, clean piece of suede. So the first piece I ever start with on my halters are the noseband. So I'm making a Showmanship halter for my Flash here. He has a pretty universal sized head. It's also the same size as Gigi Valentine, I found, very little adjusting. So basically what we're going to do here is, so I'm just going to hold it to his head. So the noseband goes about here on his face. So there's just a little bit of space between that and the cheekbone. So I'm going to find how long I need it. And where we need to add room for the glue. So about there to the edge of my thumb. That'll be good when I glue it. So just hold it with your finger, bring it off, and now you're going to cut it. You can also just use your knife if that's easier, because, you know, one cut. And so like I did with the other side, I'm going to thin it so it's a lot thinner on that side. Okay, so now I'm going to glue a jump ring on each side. So I glue the first jump ring, and then I will double check for size and put the other one on. So there's that. There's that. Just put the ring through it. Sorry about my glue. Sometimes it doesn't come out real well, and other times it'll just go crazy. So, yeah, my glue's kind of annoying at times. So that's a ton of glue. I scraped a bunch of it off on my finger. I don't think it's toxic or whatever. I mean, it probably is, so don't eat it. But I mean, it doesn't normally hurt your hands or anything that I know of. I haven't actually read the bottle, so you probably should, and don't just jump to conclusions like I do. But, well. And so try to align it as well as you can without having the back stick out where you glued it. That is actually a really nice one that I just did. Usually a lot comes out. So, from thinning out your leather, skiving it, sometimes you'll see that there'll be little fuzzies on the edges. You see the little fuzzies? You're going to want to take your scissors and just gently trim them off. If you have a really, really sharp blade for your X-Acto knife, then you can also do that too. But I just prefer to trim with scissors. Okay, so that's a lot better. I mean, the camera, like I said before, it shows a lot more. Oh, okay, that's why I zoomed in a little. But, so there you go. Now I'm going to test it on his face again, and then I'm going to glue the next jump ring on. So this will be the top of the noseband. So the jump ring is about here on both sides of the head. So right where my nail is, it's approximately where the top of the jump ring should go. A lot of times I like to align it with the top of the cheekbone. Sometimes it's a little bit lower than the cheekbone. So like you did before, you hold on to it, and then you can glue your jump ring on. If you want to get really fancy, you can use slotted halter rings instead of the jump rings for the front. And I'm actually just going to dab a little bit of glue on my finger and then put it onto the leather. And then you're going to press it down and glue. Sometimes if you use too much, it'll squirt out of the sides, so you gotta wipe it off. Okay, so now there's your noseband. Nice and pretty. So next we're going to do the bottom of the noseband. So under here, ooh, weird. So you're going to go under here. So you're simply going to thin some more leather. Sorry, I'm setting out my foot to try and angle it down. Just try to thin out your leather. Sorry, I'm doing this a little funky because I have the camera right here. I'm trying to make sure you can see. Sometimes when you skive it, it's a little uneven, so you gotta go back and thin it out. Now when you skive it, you don't want it paper thin because then it might not be as strong. It might be, it also might warp a lot easier. That's what happens when you thin it too much. But I like to have thin enough that it, you know, sits on the horse nicely. It's not too stiff. And like I said before, I use 1/8 inch wide kangaroo lace. I honestly don't like buying it from Rio Rondo because theirs is really expensive. Tandy Leather is where I buy some of it from, but I actually found another supplier recently called Amazing Lace, so look that up because I really like their lace. They're like colorful ones, like red and blue and yellow and like sparkly shiny lace that they have. It is it's kind of thick, but the stuff actually isn't that bad. That's the thickness, and I like to thin it to about it's twisting weird, like that. It's a little bit different. But anyway, so you're just going to scav enough for the bottom of the noseband. And so you're going to wrap it around your horse's face just to know about how you want it. So I'm coming up to about here on both sides of the head, and I'm going to cut it there. And you cut it with your knife, or scissors if you prefer. And like I did on the other side, I'm going to really thin out where I'm going to glue and fold all this at and stuff. So now don't add more jump rings, you're going to glue. So this is the noseband that I already finished, and this is the bottom of it. So you're simply going to do this. And remember, when you do this, you need to make sure that the grain side is up. You do not want suede side up, because suede is not what they make a lot of horse tack out of. I think they make some saddles out of it, but I've never seen a suede halter before, or at least in Showmanship. And I'm going to glue it down so you have this. And now I'm going to take one of these jump rings here, and I'm going to open it up. You can use pliers if you want. I generally don't have to, so there's an opened up one. And I'm going to put another one through it, so you get this. And then you're going to close it. So you get a little double chain. So you're simply going to, here's the thing here, you're just going to slip it right on. And then you're going to fold this around. So I have it so that the suede and the glued stuff is facing outwards. And then you can pass this through this ring here that we already have. Sorry, this part is really confusing. And then you're going to have a little flap here that you glue down. But first you want to test for size, make sure that it fits. I don't know, well, like, it should be fitted, but not tight, and it shouldn't be crazy loose. Because this is a Showmanship halter, and they have to be fitting very well to show off their horses. Now, like I said before, this is actually inside out right now, but I do that when I'm trying out my horses. So there is that. You see how it dangles nicely? It's not too tight or anything. And that flap there glues down. Sorry, I can't see what I'm doing on that side. So now, keeping it nice like that, you can glue it down because we know it fits well. So just like before, I'm going to smudge a little glue on my finger and, oops, and glue it down. And then I got the entire noseband. Oh, whoops, you gotta flip it out first. Because now the grain side is out. Because like I said before, I flipped it inside out while I was gluing it together, because I find it's a little bit harder to glue it kind of like inside of it. It's easier to flip it out and then fold it on, versus like trying to like stick your finger in there and glue it on. So I whatever works best for you. And we can just slip it down. So now we can thin some more leather. And glue the very end where you plan on gluing, or I'm sorry, thin the very end the most where you plan on gluing. And trim off the fuzzies. Mine has quite a few fuzzies on the edges. So now it's nice and clean, and that's a little off, so I'm just going to even out the end there. So now you got a nice piece. I'm going to thin mine out just a little bit more. Okay, so now we can finish the cheek pieces, and I'm probably going to cut it off for part 2 because this is going on like 15 minutes, 20 seconds. So you're going to take this and you're going to slip it right through the edge. Oops. So you got that. It doesn't really matter which side you put it on, just remember, make sure the green side is up. So now you're going to put a little glue right on this flap here that you fold it over and push it down. Okay, so now we're going to put it on our horse. Check for fit. So I generally like to just like wrap this around his head. Oops, I'm dragging my spool of lace just so I can see. So now I have it like this. It's really dark. Okay, that's a little better. So now the jump ring should start about here. So I'm going to cut it about there, where my fingernail is. Let me put the camera down and it's wrapped around my arm. So I'm going to cut it. And we're good. So now we're going to thin that piece. Just be careful you don't pull on it too much because you're going to mess up the piece that you already glued. And you're going to put on another jump ring to where you just thinned and fitted. So double check for size. Make sure that the jump ring ends about the back of the cheek. So it ends like that, kind of. I could actually shorten it a little bit. Okay, so now I can glue it all together. And now we can glue it. There you go. You got one half of it. Now we're going to do the exact same thing for the other side. So, thin our leather. And we don't really need to fit it on our horse since we know how long it is, because your horse should be symmetrical. If your horse is not symmetrical, then go ahead and repeat it where you fit on your horse. But we can just hold it up to the piece that we already finished. Then the very end, and glue it on the other side. Make sure that when you do this, it's facing the same direction. So it should both be going out this way. And glue. So that's your point. Your hands are going to be pretty disgusting, but oh well. It's the price of making a nice tack. Okay. So now we're just going to squish our thing flat so we can kind of compare. And then we're going to clip it a little past the jump ring. Make sure that they're even. Use your knife and thin it down. and glue on your jump ring. Make sure it is the same as the other side. So just squish it flat and compare. Okay, so there we go. This is how far we've gotten. So I'm going to stop the video here and do a part 2. I might actually grab some silver while I stop the video. So thank you for watching, comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff, and view the next part. I will try to put them up at the same time so you can go right to the next one. Alright, so bye-bye you guys!